Hey, yo, what are you talking about over here? Hi, I'm Caleb Jones. This is Unchained CEO, where you can develop your own location-independent, low-work, high-income business that sets you free from your stupid 9-to-5 job and gets you location-independent so that you can, perhaps if you want, and you should, we'll talk about that today, live in a less bad country, or at least set up an international backup plan and doing all these things for very little money. Today, I'm going to say negative things about Trump and Elon. So get ready. I'll make the context very clear, but this is one of those scenarios where a lot of you will agree with me, and a decent hunk of you in my audience, I would say around 30-40%, are going to go, but Kamala would have been worse, which I'm going to address as well. So this is one of those scenarios where I'm going to cover several different topics this live stream like I have been. But this is one of those scenarios where you're going to have to work really hard. I know it's hard to think rationally and objectively and not emotionally. Not, but Kamala's a psycho, or he stuck his fist in the air, or, but Elon said this. These are all emotional statements. And you can't run your country based on emotional statements unless you want your country to collapse. If you don't want your country to collapse, well, now I'm saying what I'm going to say in the segment. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk. See, one of you are saying Elon never failed. I can't believe Elon failed. Why was I able to predict this 6 months ago and you had no idea? Because you weren't thinking rationally. You were thinking emotionally. Yay, Elon's perfect. That's irrational. You got to think objectively. I have two other topics today. And they both cover, that's the theme for today's live stream is, and boy, do I harp on this because this is part of what I teach. If you want to live a happy, free life, you must think rationally and objectively. If all you do is think emotionally about everything or most things, you're going to live a fucked up life of chaos. That's just how this works. It can't be any other way. You have to train yourself, and it's hard, especially if you're a Westerner, especially if you're in the modern day collapsing era in which we live. It's hard to be objective. When you see Kamala Harris speak and you're a Trump supporter, it's hard to be objective. If you are a left-winger and you hate Trump and you see Trump speak, it's hard to gauge these things objectively and rationally as an objective third-party observer, which is what I can do because I don't like any of these people. I don't vote for any of these people. All these people are collapsing your country. I'll cover that in a minute. You're going to have to do this. There's no other way around this. Cool? All right. Thank you. Take a drink. And then I'm going to follow my standard new model. If you're not aware of this, I'm going to reintroduce myself several times throughout this live stream. That way you can cut up the content for AI to do mid-form and short-form content. So just these long live streams. And then I'll answer questions at the end. Cool? All right. Got to drink my electrolytes. Woo, that tastes terrible today. I love fasting. It's so fun. It's great. Okay. Hang on. New video. If you support Donald Trump and or Elon Musk, you are directly complicit in the collapse of the United States. And that doesn't mean the left is right. The left is wrong. The left has always been wrong. The left has always been insane. But that doesn't mean just because the left is insane that Trump supporters are doing everything correctly and not also contributing to the collapse of specifically the United States and of the West. And I'm going to give you some details right now about why that is true. And if you weren't aware, my name is Caleb Jones. I help people just like you how to set up their own location-independent companies and move to better countries, or at least set up international backup plans, doing all that for very little money. I'm going to show you something from Instagram for the last 48 hours as I record this video. So first, I'm going to show you this. This is a recording from Manhattan. I'm sure glad that Trump made America great again. I'm sure glad you guys did that. That's great. Now, I'm going to show you something else here, something even worse. Hang on a second. I'm really glad that you guys last November, when Trump got reelected for no reason, I'm really glad you guys defeated the woke. We defeated woke, everybody. We defeated the woke. I'm so glad you guys did that. That's great. You guys are doing a great job at saving your country. Here's what's now going on right now in Los Angeles. You're listening to the podcast. There are people throwing rocks at cop cars. I'm sure glad you guys defeated the woke. This is great. Good job, guys. Yeah. That's great. You guys are doing such a great job at saving America and defeating the left. You guys are doing a bang-up job. Just 4 or 5 months ago, and I was going to provide screenshots, but I'm not going to bother because most of you who know my content already know this. I said verbally, and I repeated on my blogs, here on my YouTube, and in podcasts, when a whole bunch of you said, but Caleb, Elon's going to cut a bunch of government spending. Isn't that good? I mean, it's okay now, right? Trump and Elon are going to cut government spending. What did I say 4 or 5 months ago when you Trump supporters were saying this? What did I say? Here's what I said specifically. And I could back this up with screenshots. I don't care. I'm not going to bother to find them. But I've got on my blog. I did an entire article on my blog saying Elon will not cut government spending. I did that several months ago. I said on that blog post, I said in the comments of that blog, I've said the comments here in my YouTube channel. I said, here's what's going to happen. Elon's going to come into the government. He's going to make a bunch of excitement. Nothing's going to happen. And he will retire. He will leave in disgust because the government won't do what he recommends. What happened last week? What happened last week? That's exactly what happened. Now, once again, for the 14th time, I was right and all you moron Trump supporters were wrong. Now, let me pause for a second. If the only answer to these criticisms is Kamala would have been worse, Trump was the better of two evils, if that's the only response you have to these facts that are occurring right in front of your eyeballs, you have just proved my point. Why are you still living in the United States? Why are you still voting in elections? If the people you Trump supporters vote for, like Donald Trump, are that bad for the country and make your country worse and worse and worse and worse, and the only reason you vote for them is the other person would have been worse, then what the hell are you still doing living in the collapse of the United States, and B, voting in these stupid elections? I said back when Biden won, and all of you guys said, no, he stole the election, and not true. Well, I said, if that's true, if the Democrat Party literally falsified 8 million votes to get Biden elected, which is what some of you said, many of you said this, then I said 4 years ago, you should, if you believe this, because I didn't believe it, every election there's fraud, but not 8 million votes in 5 different states. The Democratic Party aren't a bunch of geniuses. I don't know if you've noticed. I said, if you believe that, you should never vote in an election ever again. If the election system is this flawed and this rigged, you should never, ever, 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 ever vote in an election ever again. Then why are you still voting, you fucking moron? Trump just passed a budget that Elon is so angry about. Now they're having a big Twitter war. I'm not going to post screenshots because you can look this up on other places. I don't care about the details. The details don't matter. America's collapsing and Trump can't fix it, as I've been saying since 2016. Since January 27th, when I posted an image on my social media that showed the exact amount of federal spending, January 27th was the day Trump took power. Since January 27th, just 4 months ago, Trump has increased the debt of the United States by $1 trillion in 4 months. It used to take 8, 9, 10 years to increase the debt of the United States by $1 trillion. It took Trump 4 months. After you idiots said, but Elon's going to cut a bunch of expenses and Trump and Elon are going to make government smaller, Caleb. This happened before in 2016. When you said, Trump's going to build a wall, Caleb, I said, no, he's not. You're stupid if you think he's going to build it. Shut up. And you called me stupid. You said I didn't know anything about politics. Trump didn't build a wall. He passed a bill in 2018, the first time he was president, saying he would never build a wall. Here's my question for you, and this is a serious question. And again, I'm going to repeat, if your only answer is Kamala would have been worse, Biden would have been worse, you just proved my point, because that's the only argument you Trump guys have had since 2016. Well, will you want Hillary to win? Now, to be fair, this is the exact same thing as when I was attacking Barack Obama when he was president for 8 years. I was attacking all the left-wingers, these fucking morons who said Obama's going to close Guantanamo Bay. Obama's going to end the wars. I said, no, he's not. You said, well, you want Mitt Romney to win? As I've been saying many times, if the only knee-jerk response to when I say your president sucks and is ruining your country, your only knee-jerk response is the other guy would have been worse, that means you agree with me. You can't say, no, Caleb, Trump is awesome. Here's 5 things Trump did in the last 4 months that will help America. You can't say that. Did the tariffs help? How about spending extra $1 trillion? Did that help? How about kicking Elon out? Did that help? You are agreeing with me that your president sucks. And you keep doing this and 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 doing this. And the left does this too. Yes, the left is insane. The left is insane. The left has always been insane. I knew that in the early 90s. Yes, the left is insane. But just because the left is insane doesn't mean that Trump is good or Trump supporters are good. You guys are just as insane, and you keep proving it over and over again. So my question for you is, after this many times of being totally and completely wrong about Trump, when I have been right about every prediction I made about Donald Trump since 2016, every one of them, I made 5 the first time. I made 2 this time. I'm 100% right on all these. You guys are 100% wrong on all these. When do you start feeling stupid? And I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm not saying you are stupid, although some of you are. Some of you. When do you start feeling stupid? You're like, God, I keep supporting a guy who literally does nothing he promises. I keep going online and telling people like Caleb and hundreds of other people, I don't want to listen, but it's okay because Trump will do this. And Trump never ends up doing it. And I keep over and over and looking like a goddamn moron. At what point do I start acting rationally? At what point do I start acting objectively? At what point do I start focusing on my own life instead of on Donald Trump, who clearly is a moron / incompetent / an asshole / whatever term you want to use? Yes, Kamala Harris is terrible. Yes, Joe Biden is terrible. The left is always wrong. If the only response you have is they would have been worse, you just proved my point. When do you start behaving rationally? When do you stop putting people in power who make your country worse every year? I don't do that. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Kamala. I didn't vote for Biden. I didn't vote for Obama. I didn't vote for Bush. I didn't vote for Romney or John McCain. I don't vote for people who make my country worse because I am rational. I am objective. Am I perfect? No. Do I make mistakes? All the time. It's not about being perfect or not making mistakes. It's about looking at things rationally and objectively like an adult instead of saying, but Kamala's crazy, or he stuck his fist in the air, or but Elon is awesome. These are not rational statements. These are emotional statements. And when you run your country and elect people based on emotional statements, you make your country worse every year, which you Trump supporters say you don't want. You say you want to beat the left. You say you want to make America great again. You say you want to save America. Then why do you keep electing Trump? And it's not just Trump. Left-wingers did this with Obama. You right-wingers did this years ago with George W. Bush. If you had elected people who were skilled and not tearing your country down, you wouldn't be in this mess. If you had elected people like Ross Perot, Ron Paul, Pat Buchanan, on the left, people like Bernie Sanders, etc. Do I agree with everything those people do or want? No. But if you had elected those people over the last 35 years, America wouldn't be collapsing today. It wouldn't. It would not be in a state of collapse like it is right now. But every election, and you're going to do it again, most of you, you're going to say, well, we only have 2 choices. We've got to vote for the lesser 2 evils. So I guess I got to vote for this horrible person who's going to destroy my country. Then I'm going to act like a moron and say he's going to do a bunch of stuff that he's never going to do. Trump supporters, Obama supporters, that's exactly what you've done over and over and over again. So the question is, when do you break that pattern? When do you realize that you look like a fucking moron if you keep supporting Trump? And yes, Kamala's worse. Not relevant. When do you realize that your irrational behavior is collapsing the very country you say you give a shit about? Now, I don't live in the United States anymore. I don't care. This isn't my problem anymore. It stopped being my problem a long time ago because I saw the writing on the wall a very long time ago and I got the hell out. I don't know why you guys are still there. So I don't care. I don't vote. I don't care. America's not my problem. So I can be a little objective about this. But I have not voted for Trump, Biden, Kamala, John McCain, John Kerry, George Bush, Mitt Romney. I didn't vote for these people. I'm not going to vote for people who make the America worse. Now, at this point, America's fucked. And as I've said 10,000 times, I did an entire video a few weeks ago on over 100 statistics as to why the America is collapsing and will collapse in your lifetime. And it's going to be sooner than you think now, because you guys, you people on the left and the right, keep voting for people, including Trump, who accelerate the collapse. I already said that the overreaction to COVID-19 has knocked at least 10 years off the lifespan of the United States. A lot of that was under Trump. And you left-wingers are no better off. If you left-wingers, you guys who hate Trump, if all you do is keep electing or trying to elect people like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, two people who can't speak. That's what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden had in common. Two people who can't even carry on normal conversations and speak in normal, coherent sentences. Joe Biden because he's too old, and Kamala because she's spoken word salad. Amazing. If you were a left-winger, or you are a left-winger in the United States, and you had any objectivity, which you don't, just like the Trump supporters you hate, what should have happened last November is you should have marched on Washington. Last November, or even prior to November, when Kamala was announced as your candidate, a candidate no one fucking wanted on your side, you should have said, okay, fuck this. This is the third time we've had a left-wing candidate shoved down our throats we didn't want. Nobody wanted Joe Biden. The only reason he won the primaries is because he did a bunch of backroom deals. Nobody wanted Kamala. She was appointed. Bernie Sanders would have won, but the DNC cheated and put Hillary in place first. For the last three candidates you left-wingers have tried to elect as president, one successful, the other two not successful, were ones you never wanted. And they were complete and utter failures. And so if you are objective and rational and you were a left-winger, you should have seen 3 million Democrats march on Washington last year saying, fuck you, the Democratic Party. We are not going to accept Kamala Harris. You are going to give us a democratically elected person. We are going to vote, and we're going to pick who we want. Now, I'm against democracy, but you left-wingers worship democracy. Did you see any left-wingers marching on Washington when Kamala Harris was? No, you didn't, because you left-wingers are just as insane as the Trump supporters. When do you start admitting that you're behaving like a retard? When you support people like Trump, Elon, Kamala, Joe Biden. When? Because the pattern is not going to change until you change. Your life is going to change and your country sure as fuck is going to change until you change. Until you start focusing inward on your own life and trying to set up a structure for your own life. Unchained CEO, location-dependent income, 5 flags, etc. Whatever degree you want to do these things. When you start focusing on that, then suddenly Trump and Elon and Kamala and woke people don't matter. You people, you Trump supporters said you defeated the woke last year. We defeated wokeism. Have you heard about the new Fantastic Four coming out? The most important movie in Marvel history, because this is the movie that's supposed to turn Marvel around. And they made Sue Storm the leader of the team. And they took Silver Surfer and turned her into a girl. And we defeated wokeism. Uh-huh. There's a movie out right now called Ballerina, with an actress who's like 100 feet tall, beating the shit out of guys, and we defeated woke. These are all movies produced after Trump's win, or produced in large part. Which is the new Tron movie. Oh my God. You didn't defeat shit. As I've said many times, just because Trump won the popular vote by 1.5% does not mean you defeated the woke. I'm sorry. America is going to continue to get worse and worse every year, faster now because of Trump's new spending and Trump's stupid tariffs. Nothing you can do will stop it. You need to focus on yourself and stop acting like an irrational moron by voting for people like Trump who make your country worse every year just because the other person is worse. You have so many other options, including doing what I did, leaving the United States, and now you don't give a fuck. And if you're not ready to leave yet, great. You set up an international backup plan so you win the United States. When, not if, when. In the next few years, when the United States gets so bad or your city gets so bad, you can just leave. Even if there's a pandemic, even if there's a collapse, even if there's a war, if you have an international backup plan where you have legal residency there, bank account there, et cetera, just like I talked about here on Unchained CEO, you're covered and you're fine. And you don't have to worry about this. Or keep being a fucking retard and keep saying, but Caleb, Trump said he's going to do this. So isn't it okay now? You're going to keep doing, a lot of you, I hate to say this, a lot of you are going to keep doing this. And you're going to keep, every 6 months, you're going to keep getting confused. Why didn't Trump do what he said? Or you can realize you're being a dumb fuck and stop doing this and stop supporting these people and focus on yourself instead of making your country worse every year. New video. Ding, I just talked about the LA riots. You got to watch the live stream. Okay. Let's do another video here. Hang on. Hang on a moment. Why am I getting a low signal thing on my internet here? What the fuck's going on here? Hang on. Let me wait a sec. I'm stuck on an 80s movie to wind down after work. I can't watch stuff made last 15 years. I haven't watched stuff made last 15 years, with rare exception. I removed myself from American pop culture around 2018. I said, I can't do this anymore. And it's gotten worse. That was 2018. It's worse now. You can't watch any TV shows. You can pretty much not watch any movies, comic books, novels. Yeah, I've already talked about this. It sucks. All right. New video. The reason your life sucks is because you want to live an easy life. Huh? Yeah. I'm going to give you 3 quotes. And these are some of my favorite statements I've ever heard. First quote, it's a Chinese quote. It is better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war. It is your job, especially if you're a man, but if you're a woman too, to make sure you are strong, healthy, independent, you have money, you're location dependent, you have your own business, you live a good life. You need to do these things when and if future problems occur in your life. I don't know how old you are, but I promise you one thing. For the rest of your life, if that's 40 years, 60 years, 80 years, whatever that ends up being, you're going to have lots and lots of external challenges, major problems that come in from the outside that fuck up your life. And if you are a pussy, if you are a 9-to-5 employee and you're relying on a job with AI coming and the collapse of the West, if you are location dependent and you have to stay in your particular city in order to earn your income, if you live at home with mommy and daddy, all these other scenarios, you are now exposed to all these problems that are 100% coming to your life. And you're going to be in big trouble. If instead you operate from a position of strength, you have your own business, you make several $1,000s a year, you're location independent, you don't have a job, you don't need a job, you're international, then when these problems occur, in particular, the AI takeover, the AI disruption of people losing their jobs, and the collapse of the Western world, specifically the United States, Canada, Western Europe, when these things occur in your life, and they will, you can handle them. What if they don't happen, Caleb? They will. But let's say they don't. Okay, they don't. Then you are a warrior in the garden. You're a warrior. You're a samurai warrior with your katana and your wakizashi and your armor, and you sit down and you just are at peace and you meditate. And you have a great time. Great. Most of you are gardeners. Most of you, when these problems occur, and they're already occurring now, are going to take the brunt of the damage because you decided to be a gardener, not a warrior. Be a warrior first. And I'm talking about this context. So I'm not talking about warrior like Andrew Tate. We are mad about everything all the time. Not talking about trying to save America and voting for Trump, who makes everything worse every day. Not talking about that. Talk about warrior in this context. Strong, independent, stable, diversified. When you are that, then you're covered. Instead of saying, I hope I don't have any problems. That's not how life works. There's always fucking problems. I have problems too. We all have them. That's how life works. Okay, the next quote is, this one is from Bruce Lee. Don't wish for an easy life. Wish for the strength to endure a hard one. Basically the same thing, stated a little differently. I hope my life is easy. I hope I can make a lot of money and just retire to Thailand and live on the beach the rest of my life. That's not going to work. And I personally know people who made a lot of money, guys, made a lot of money in their early 20s or 20s, 30s, and they retired and they had fun for a few months and then it ruined their lives just because they had no missions. It just could destroy their lives. And they had to go back to work. Don't wish for an easy life. Wish for the strength and the power and the diversification and the structures, the lifestyle infrastructure that will protect you when there are problems. Okay, next quote. This is one of my favorite. I've talked about this many times. Jim Rohn. I've repeated this many times. If you are hard on yourself, life is easy on you. If you are easy on yourself, which is most of you, life is going to be very hard on you. I realized several years ago that one of the reasons my life is so awesome is because I have been hard on myself for decades. To this day, I am still very hard on myself. I have coaches I pay a lot of money to. And even they say, Caleb, you're a little hard on yourself. I'm like, well, yeah. I'm hard on myself, so I have an easy life. Life is very easy on me. My financial life, my international life, my day-to-day logistical life, certainly my personal life. It's awesome because I'm hard on myself. Right now, this isn't going to be forever, but right now I'm working 9 to 11-hour days, 6.5 days a week. And when I'm not working, I'm doing things like going to the gym and fasting and stretching and meditating. I am very, very, very hard on myself. Which is why I make a good income. I'm location dependent. I have a personal life that is unrivaled in the world, et cetera, so forth and so on. I don't have to work these long hours. I choose to because I have a big goal to hit next year. Be hard on yourself if you want to be happy and live an amazing life. Scott Galloway, those of you know who he is, he mentioned that he will do these trainings and classes and things at Harvard stuff with these young men in their 20s or early 20s, and they will say two things. They will ask them, how much money do you want to make? And they all reply, they give them these giant numbers. I want to make $700,000 a year. I want to make them $1.2 million a year, upper 1% incomes. And then they say, what is your biggest priority in life? And what these Gen Z, some millennial, mostly Gen Z people guys say, is they say, well, I want work-life balance. And he's like, you want to make $700,000 a year and you want work-life balance? You can't have both those things. What the hell are you talking about? It's one or the other, dude. And they don't understand this. They want to make a lot of money, but they want an easy life. You don't get both. Or you don't get both at the same time. Last quote, bonus quote. I just thought of this as I was talking. One of my favorite quotes from my movie, Rocky. The best Rocky quote ever. This is from the movie Rocky Balboa. Stallone is a genius. He says, here's his quote. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit. So in Dungeons and Dragons speech, because I'm a nerd, it's not your strength, it's your constitution. It's how hard you can get hit, not how hard you hit, not how aggressive you are on Twitter with trolling people on the left. That's not what success and happiness is about. It's about how hard you can get hit. And I realized the last few years, I never really thought about it in these terms. I have built a lifestyle structure where I can get hit really hard and I'm fine. And there's been a few things, especially in the last 3 or 4 years. I have been hit in several areas of my life. Really hard was fine. Most of you are little tiny twigs and you get hit even a little bit and you break in half because you're a pussy and your life has no redundant infrastructure and you're a 9-to-5 employee and you're location dependent and you're making excuses about, well, AI it won't take my job now. It's all about being strong and resilient so that you can live a happy life. Not because being strong and resilient so you can be an alpha male or you can be red pill. That's not the fucking point. The point here of all my content is long-term, consistent happiness. And the only way you can do that is by being a warrior, tough, A, B, having a life that is robust and tough, like I talk about in the book Freedom Fortress, so that things can happen to you and they're irritating, but you're okay. That's the goal. All right. New video. How are we doing on time? You know what? That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to do those 2 videos. Let's handle your questions here. I dropped politics after reading your book. Good. Trump is smiling ear to ear at all this. Trump is one of the most unhappy people on earth. That's incorrect. Talk about Bitcoin and how Trump kept his word about the reserve. We don't know what's going to happen yet. Wait several more years. Thoughts on the LA riots. I already talked about that. Watch the replay. On yesterday's live stream, you said there are 4 main reasons behind your big financial goal. One of them is that so you can take care of your women. Can you please share the other 3 reasons? I don't know, because I don't want people copying my reasons. Should I give you my reasons? I'll go through each reason. I may not tell you all of them. Reason number 1 is so I can self-actualize. So every person, especially men, I talked about this on the channel, you have 3 phases in life. You have the breakout phase for younger people, where you break away from your mom, dad, girlfriend, boss, okay? You break away from that. Middle phase, the longest one by far, is the empire building phase, where you build your infrastructure, you build your business, you build your income, you build your 5 flag structure, you build your investments. That's going to take some time, okay? Unless you're lucky. There are some guys who do this in their 20s, but they're maniacs, okay? Third phase is the self-actualization phase. And that is once you've laid in your foundations financially, physically, and in your personal life, everything's kind of the way you want it. You're nice and safe, like I just talked about. You're robust. You can handle problems. You're good to go. Then you focus on being the best person you can be, self-actualization. So in April of next year, hopefully, I'm going to convert out of my empire building phase and into my self-actualization phase. That requires a certain amount of money. So that's my number 1 reason. The taking care of women in my life, that's reason number 3. It's in the top 4, but it's not number 1. Number 1 is self-actualization. Number 2 is to make me safe for the long term. Like I talk about it in the book in Freedom Fortress, caleb.top/freedom. If you want that book, you should read it. Just to make sure that I am good to go, locked in, safe. My definition of safe, not that book. I have a much higher definition of the word safe. With AI coming, collapse the West, I have a feeling the odds are good. This could be worse than we think. Odds are good, not 100%, but the odds are good. So I want to have more money than I need. So that's the second reason. Third reason is my woman reason. And fourth reason is just to be able to buy whatever I want without worrying about it. But I'm kind of already there. So I've talked about this. So for example, 6-7 years ago, I stopped caring about how much things cost in my day-to-day life, like groceries. Like you Americans who are still living in America because you're insane, and you're talking about eggs are $8 or something. When I go to grocery store and buy food, I don't look at how much it is. I don't even care. I don't care anymore. I used to care when I made less money. Oh my God. I'd fill up my gas tank. I don't own a car anymore, but I'm like, oh my, $62. Oh my God. I'd stress about money because I wasn't making enough money. Now I make plenty of money. I don't care. I will go to a restaurant with my wife and the bill will be $350 and like a high-end, high-rise Dubai restaurant. And I don't care. I'm like, okay, fine. So I don't care. So when people ask me like, how much does it cost to whatever? I don't know. I don't look how much it costs. However, there are certain expenses that I can afford them, but they give me pause. Like a first-class ticket from Dubai, the United States, can be anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. Can I afford that? Sure. But it gives me pause. I'm like, what I want to be able to do, and I can almost do this now. It's more of a mental thing. It's a mental thing, not a logistical thing with me, is to just go, okay, and not worry about how much it costs. Which again, I could probably do now, but I've got mental stuff from when I was a kid. My family was poor and I'm getting over that stuff. So those are my reasons. Let's see. Do you suggest starting your first business in your own country? Yes, it's generally easier. Location independent. It can't be in your town. It can't be in your state. But in your country, sure. Yeah, it generally is easier. Yes. How do you contact the niche in a foreign country, ask for their problem? You call them. We have people in 90-Day Business Builder doing niches in other countries. It's fine. You got to be aware of time zones, and you got to call them and speak English. Worst case, you hire somebody. International calls can be expensive. Not in the modern era. There's lots of ways around that with the internet. I think you're a really high IQ individual, probably the level of genius. Half right. I am low genius. My IQ is a low 140s, I think. So I'm on the low end of, I am technically in the genius zone, but I'm the very bottom of that zone, which frankly, in my opinion, is exactly where you want to be. You don't want to be stupid. Average is okay. You don't want to be a super genius like Einstein or Elon Musk. Then you're weird. You have a fucked up life like Elon. But if you're just a little bit of a genius, I think that's a sweet spot. So I got lucky with my genetics. In your opinion, why do you think you haven't reached the level of success like people like Elon, Jeff Bezos, or even Grant Cardone? I've discussed this because for the past 20-ish years of my life, 50% of my focus has been on my woman life and designing the alpha male 2.0 lifestyle. That's why. If it was 100%, I would be on that level. I wouldn't be a billionaire, but I would have lots of more money, way more money, but I'd have a fucked up personal life. I'd be monogamous or single or, yeah. Every one of those people you just named have kind of a weird ass personal life. I want to get details, but they do. And I have no desire. What's stopping you from their level of success? I don't want to reach their level of success. I don't need hundreds of millions of dollars. That has never been my objective ever. There's a certain set of numbers I want to hit next year, and then I'm done. And I'm almost there. So no, I don't need hundreds of millions. I don't want to be a billionaire. I don't need that. I don't need the aggravation. If there was a collapse in the West, you mean when the West collapses, and I lived overseas, would there still be a small likelihood to be able to get back and see my family? Of course you can. That's my main concern. I can't shake it. Yeah, why would you not be able to go back and see your family? Very unusual. Odds are very high to be able to see your family. Yes. How to start off with offering business to places like Vietnam? I already answered that question. 6 months and I'm gone. Cool. Just saving up, start a new life in Thailand/Dubai, where I start joining a business builder and start my online business. Cool. Can you do a blog or live stream on the best stretches for older people? No, that's not my area. Nope. However, I did talk about that in my immersion service, and I have something coming up where you can get those videos, but it'll cost money. About that Jim Rohn quote, I feel like I'm too hard on myself, but from an effing self-judgment and self-critical perfectionism standpoint, that's too much. That's too hard on yourself. That's holding standards that are not possible. It's a big struggle to let myself move past and F up ahead. You need to be hard on yourself within your realm of ability. So, if you are 400 pounds and you say, I need to be an athlete tomorrow, that's a little too hard on yourself, right? If you are very unfocused and you've never been focused in your life and you can't sit and work for more than 20 minutes at a time because you're so distracted because you've destroyed your dopamine by too much Instagram and shit, and you say, I need to work 10 hours a day like Caleb does right now, that's too hard. You can't do that. You need to work up to that. But you can do things like, lose weight, increase your hours, and right? You need to set achievable goals that are difficult but not impossible for you. Difficult, but not impossible. Some things are you're setting impossible goals. I need to be a billionaire in 6 months. Can't do that. So I am very hard on myself, but they're all things I do have the ability to do. There are things that are hard for me. I'm working on several projects right now. Several. Oh. Good thing I have a lot of energy, get a lot of sleep, and to meditate and do everything right. I'm working on a lot of projects right now that are very hard for me. Extraordinarily so. But I can do them. They're within my ability. Barely, but I can do them. And I'm very hard on myself to get that shit done. Caleb, stop fucking around. I yell at you guys all the time and call you guys pussies and stuff. Double that. That's what I say to myself. Hey, man, what are you doing? Why are you taking a break? Do you need to be taking a break? You have this, that needs to get done. Don't you want your da-da-da-da by next April? What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? And then promises to myself, here's my card. Okay, all that stuff. Everything I recommend. I've been reading Ayn Rand lately. Can you please share your insight in a nutshell on Ayn Rand's concept of productivity? I have no idea what her concept of productivity is. That's a good question. I know Ayn Rand very well. I don't think she's discussed productivity very much. I don't know. Seems like your work ethic comes from Ayn Rand. Is that true? No, my work ethic comes from me. And if I were to emulate anyone, to be Brian Tracy from the 90s. How do I make more money? Hang on. There's a sick metal song that Rocky quote into the intro. It's called Soulless God by Cataclysm. Okay, cool. I'm going to go in a few minutes. I got to keep this live stream brief today. Why aren't you interested in using your genius to change the world? This people needs people like you. I've already changed a little part of the world over my Alpha Male 2.0 stuff. There are millions and millions of men who now follow Alpha Male 2.0 models that are much happier. I helped more people than the average 100,000 people you could find off the street. I have helped a lot of people. My content for the past 20 years has helped literally millions of people. B, I don't talk about this publicly. I donate a lot of money to charity. I don't talk about it. I don't think it doesn't matter. I help more people than people who say, why don't you help people? No offense to you. I'm pretty sure I have helped way more people than you, Alexander. There are ways of helping people that have nothing to do with fucking politics and voting for people like Trump who make your country worse every year, because Kamala would also make it worse. Number one. Number two, as I've said in my content, I've been very clear about this. I don't care about 90% of people. 90% of people are going to say, there's 47 genders, or Trump will fix everything. And they're going to go down with the Titanic when America collapses. There's no saving these people. I have no sympathy. I have none. They fucked up my country. My country used to be great in the 1980s. It was amazing to live in America in the 80s and early 90s. It was amazing. And you fucked it all up. So I have no sympathy at all. 10% I care about. You guys. I care about you guys. I'm here to help you, not help the world. The world is fucked. I've been all over the world. And that's why I have a chapter in the Unchained Man, or a section called Every Country in the World Sucks. Because they do. Some suck less than others. I'm in Paraguay right now. Sucks way less than the collapsing USA. And Dubai sucks way less than that. Still sucks. The world's fucked. Is it possible to increase our IQ when we're already adult old? No, that's a hardwired thing. You can increase your intelligence, learn shit, and then do things. Don't learn shit. Do things. Stop learning. Two of you are learning too much. You're listings. Don't worry about increasing your IQ, Alexander. Start your location-independent business and quit your fucking job and get to another country. Stop worrying about being smart. You're smart enough. I hear Arizona home AC systems are not rated for heat in Arizona. I did a whole thing about that. Yes. Our Paraguayan AC system is rated for Paraguayan heat. I am not here in Paraguay when it's hot, so I don't know. I am not stupid, so I'm not going to be here in Paraguay in January and December when it's roasting hot here. And even the Paraguayans complain. So I don't know. I've designed my lifestyle where I have year-round, perfect, amazing weather. The weather today is so, there are times I just turn and I just look outside. I go, oh. It's so nice and pretty. It's a little chilly. It's probably 72 degrees and sunny. There's a cloud in sight. So I don't know. I'm not here when it's hot. And I'm not in Dubai when it's hot right now in Dubai. Just talking to some people in Dubai. Oh, it's so hot. Yeah, I'm in Paraguay. What the hell are you doing in Dubai? What do you think of men's groups? Men like the Mankind Project. My dad's really into Mankind. I think men getting together in groups are fine. If you find value in those things, great. Some of those groups like Mankind are beta male groups. If you want to be a big beta and meet with a bunch of beta males, great. Men's groups are great. I have several online communities. I have the Alpha Male 2.0 Facebook group. There's a Telegram group. There's a few things. So it's fine. Alexander, you're asking a lot of Lissig questions. Please stop asking these. How do I think better about this? And how do I train myself to? And just get off your ass and start to get to work. Best Brian Tracy, but I'll answer that. Maximum achievement. I thought he increased it by $500 billion in that time. 5 months ago, the U.S. national debt was $36.4 trillion. Now it's $36.9 trillion. No, that's not right. No, when the last I looked at it last week, it was 0.9 trillion between the 27th and today. It's 0.9. So I don't know where you're getting your numbers. From not 5 months ago. Yeah, it was 5 months ago. Yeah. January 27th. Yeah. All right. I got to go. You Trump guys, one last thing before I leave you guys. Yes, the left sucks. Yes, the left is insane. Yes, woke people are insane. America is going to get more left and more woke every year, even if Trump was emperor of the Americas forever. Trump is going to make your country worse and worse and worse. You have to stop believing in what Trump promises. He's never fulfilled a single fucking major. There are little promises. He's fulfilled several of them. But the big things, build a wall, cut expenses with Elon, bring back the manufacturing job. Did he do any of those things? Every major promise he's made, he has fucking lied to you, and you are a retard for believing this. Stop focusing on Trump and left-wingers and start focusing on yourself and those of you who have families, your family. And if you don't have a family, your future family. Because statistically speaking, the majority of you guys who don't have a girlfriend, don't have any kids, will have at least one of those things or two of those things in the future at some point. Do you want to be living in the collapsing United States where you're constantly worried about super 80% taxes and socialism and AI and fucking civil unrest? Or do you want to be living the good life in places like Dubai, Mexico, Paraguay, Philippines, Malaysia? There's so many other places. Just try to break out of this Trump addiction you have like a heroin addict and focus in yourself. America's fucked and you keep making it worse. Yes, the left does too. Cool? Cool. All right. That's it.